You get to open this up, Ross.
Oh my God, I'm so used to you opening up.
I know, it's kind of fun. It's like the first time that this is happening where I'm sort of nervous on doing an interview like this, and I'll just open up with this. Thank you, everyone, for joining on LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, and Periscope. And I think there's another broadcast that we're doing. Thank you for joining Showcase Broadcast Studios. As you saw in the opening, it said Real Talk with Ross Karp, with special guest, me. And I'm going to have Ross share why this has changed.
So, Michael, thank you for giving me this opportunity to, what I like to say is flip the script on you. A few months ago, you had me on your show, and I think it's great how you've been selflessly bringing people onto the show to give them a platform to educate the audience and the audience to have exposure to industry experts where they could just ask whatever questions they want and have just full access to us. And I thought it was great and amazing. It was a great experience, and I had such a great time. And then I was like, this is not fair. You're doing this selflessly, and no one probably has any idea of what you do. And so I approached you and I said, Michael, it's time for you to be interviewed, and I would love to be the one who does it. And so thank you for having the faith in me to do this with you. And you are an industry expert, and you know what? I think we should just jump right in.
Okay. Perfect.
Because I've said multiple times to you, you're the person that people need to know, but don't know that they need to know you. So I think we should explain why I've been saying that to you. And so I'm going to open it up with the question that says, what do you do for a living? Explain it to everybody.
Okay. Thank you, Ross. And just for our audience members, so if you do have questions, comments, go ahead and put it in whatever streaming service that you're using. Ross, we'll get to those questions. Thank you for that question, Ross. And it's an interesting question because a lot of people, I get this question all the time. My kids, it took them years for them to say, okay, I understand what you do now. And because it's such a unique industry that I'm blessed and fortunate to be a part of, and being at Source Advisors especially, very fortunate to be here. What we do as a company, let me start there on the higher level, is what we do as a company is we work with CPAs and their clients in helping them identify the tax incentive programs that most businesses are not familiar with, or they don't know exists, or they're not sure how to do it. They're not sure what the right approach is. So what our firm does is help clients understand what the definition and why it's applicable to their business. We go through and we determine what the potential value is for them, so that it's not just, hey, here's what it is, now go figure out how to do it. We help them understand what the value is, if it makes sense, and when it makes sense, clients and their CPAs will engage us to do the due diligence, to do the full workup, depending on the different incentive, and I'm sure we'll talk about that as well, to make sure that we're maximizing whatever that incentive is for the client. My role, so I started in this industry, it's been 16 years now, and I fell into the industry. I was at a bank at the time, and a close friend of mine called me and said, hey, there's a breakfast meeting that I'm going to. Do you want to join? And I said, no, not really, because it was like 7 o'clock in the morning. And he goes, come on, just come and listen to this group of guys talk about this tax credit. And I knew nothing about credits. And so I went out. He convinced me to go. I went to the breakfast, and this group of people, they were talking about the research and development tax credit. I'd never heard of it, never knew about it. And it was one of those things where I was like, wait a minute, it sounds too good to be true. This can't be real. So then I went back and I started calling some CPAs I knew, and they said, well, I heard about the credit, but I didn't think that companies can qualify for it because they need to be doing all this extra work and all this stuff. And this is back in 2004 when I first heard about it, at the end of 2004. And so I started introducing these guys to the CPAs, and it started growing and growing. They said, this group said to me, why don't you come work for us, and you can actually continue to help us grow the business. And I said, I don't know anything about credits or incentives, so I don't think I would be the best fit. And they said, we'll teach you. And that's what happened. So my first entree was really just into this world was finding out that this is a lucrative area for businesses and that there's a definite need. So I started learning about the research and development tax credit from a technical perspective, and then moved into more of a front end business development. Some people say, oh, you're the sales guy, and that's fine. I view myself more as an educator on incentives first and foremost, to helping businesses understand what the potential value is, what it can mean for them, what the right approach is, from start to finish. And whether it's the research and development tax credit, cost segregation for accelerated depreciation, there are a couple of different energy efficient credits and incentives. There's inventory tax planning. There's the work opportunity tax credit. There's negotiated. There's so much out there. And I know I'm rambling, but it's such an amazing world to be a part of when talking about this area, because ultimately what it does, it's helping businesses increase their cash flow by just without having to do a lot of extra work on their end or going through all the headaches that you may have to go through on other ways to increase cash flow. Does that answer your question?
It answers mine. Definitely. You did mention tax incentives, and I think we all know, we've all lived it, that the last year has been crazy. And with that craziness, there's been a lot in the news in a lot of states and cities that, they're worried about, their cash flow. The states have been severely, hampered by the last year. And, this is an incentive, and it's great to give incentives when money is flush. But now in a year where it's tight, are things going to be affected, or incentives affected at all?
It's a great question. It's kind of one of those, what does our vision look like, and our crystal ball look like, and can we see in it? And it's hard to say. Unfortunately, it's hard to say that states will continue to offer and grow the incentives world on the state side, especially. But states, when you look at what they're trying to do, they are doing a lot of promoting of bringing businesses to their state. So I know in Illinois, I see, just driving down the highway, I see a lot of billboards for businesses moving to Indiana, to Ohio, moving out west to Montana or California, wherever it is. So states are looking to solicit businesses to come to their state. And then we're not even talking about the global side of it when they're coming in, but where it makes sense. Here's what I have learned in talking to some of our incentive partners that we work with, is that states are looking for businesses in specific industries of specific sizes. So if you're a startup software development company and you want to start it in Indiana, for example, you may go to the state and say, what incentives are available to me? Do they have any credits that we can use, or any incentives that we can use to help build our building or move into the state? Indiana may say, we're not interested in your type of business, but they may say to a manufacturer, hey, move your facility here, and we're going to give you these type of incentives to move in here. So it's really a state-by-state approach, and what they want to do and how they want to grow their employment sector. But states will still make sure that they have funds available. I think that they'll still make sure that they have funds available, because that's what's going to incent businesses to stay there.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to watch how it plays out. And like you said, different states looking for different things and businesses. So I'm sure you've got your work cut out for you. And you'll be on, and you're going to be on your toes, because you're not just an Illinois-based company. You guys work all across the country. Am I correct on that?
Correct. So we are headquartered. Source Advisors is headquartered in Fort Worth, Texas, and we have offices all over the country. And we continue to expand on top of just the U.S. Recently, we started doing the research and development tax credit in the U.K. and in Germany. Wow. So we're continuing to look, and this is really a reaction for businesses that are global. And they're coming to us and saying, listen, you guys are doing a great job here in the States. What else is available? What are we missing? And their CPAs know that there's incentives out there, and they do a great job. The reason that CPAs bring us on to help is because it's not that they don't know the code. It's not that they don't know how to put it on the form. It's just they don't have the resources, and they don't have the staff, and they don't have the time to be able to commit to doing projects the right way. And that's what we constantly hear from CPAs.
And it's funny, you started to answer my next question. So I'm going to throw it out there anyway. So if there's anything that you didn't add, you could throw it in there. So it's like, why you guys are a specialty firm? Why would companies decide to use you instead of doing it themselves or relying on their CPA? And like I said, I do know that you answered a little bit of this just now. Is there anything to elaborate on with that?
Here's why I like what I do. On the front end, we're upfront and honest with our clients and with prospective clients. We're not in it to say everybody qualifies for whatever the incentive is. It's going to be the greatest thing in the world, and it's going to be better than you ever thought. It's going to be good when it works and when it makes sense. So when CPAs bring us on, and when clients come and meet with us and talk with us, or we go out and we meet with them, they talk with us because we're honest and we're upfront and saying whether it's going to work or whether there's a benefit or not. And I think we'll talk, if we don't, I'll talk a little bit about the competitive market in the incentives and credits world. But we're not in it just to push sales. We're in it to build relationships. I mean, Source Advisors has been around for 38 years. And there's a reason we've been around for 38 years. I've been here for a total of 11 years, and there's a reason that I've been here for a total of 11 years. It's because of the relationships that we build. It's because of the connections that we make. It's because of our internal teams and recognizing that when there's value, we want to make sure that we get it to them and that we maximize whatever it is.
So you did just touch on something that I, did want to bring up. I'm sure there's a lot of specialty companies that are popping up. And, I'm sure our viewers and clients, they're out there, they're getting bombarded. They're hearing about this. It is becoming more popular. So, when people start hearing this, I guess this is a two-part question. What should companies watch out for, when they start hearing about this and people start reaching out to them to kind of catch their ear? What are some things that people should watch out for? And secondly, if they are considering this, when they are looking to bring in a company like Source Advisors or anybody, what are some questions that they should be asking so that they know that this is the right fit and this is a great company to work with?
So let's answer your first question, which, if I understand it correctly, is with the competitive landscape. What's going on with that? Right.
And mainly, what should the companies that are being approached, what should they be watching for?
Okay. I'll go back to when I started. When I started, there were a handful, and we'll talk about the research and development tax credit because that's really where I kind of started from. There was maybe 3 or 4 companies that specialized in the research and development tax credit. And that's not including the big 4 accounting firms or even some of the next tier that were doing it, the research and development tax credit for their clients internally. Since then, I can't even tell you the hundreds of specialty tax consulting firms that are out there on each of the different services that we provide, whether it's R&D, cost segregation, 179D, or 45L. They are out there and they are popping up all over the place. And we run across this, and a lot of times our clients or prospective clients will do a comparison, and where they generally will try and start with is, what's your fee? And granted, fees are important, obviously. I always recognize that when I'm buying something or if I'm hiring a service, one of my main questions, in the back of my mind, is, how much is this going to cost me? But what I'm trying to help people understand is that there's value in the services that are provided for you. And it's not just about the fee. What you want to make sure of, and what we see from a lot of businesses that are out there that are popping up, a lot of R&D shops that are popping up, they're using this whole pricing model of, we're going to charge you an hourly fee and it won't exceed X percentage of your credit. When I started, I like that music.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I can let it play next time. I'm sorry. I thought I muted my phone.
No, I like the music. I thought that was my indicator that we're going to commercial. So this pricing model, hourly not to exceed a percentage of the credit, while on the front end, clients, and I've had these conversations, clients will say, oh, that makes sense, because if you're going to only charge me hourly up to 30%, 25% of the credit, I know that I'm going to end up with 75%. Sounds great. However, a lot of times these credit, the way that it's worded is that it could change. And so looking at the contract is number one for the clients. The second thing is that we came across this last week, where the estimate from the other company that we were competing against, they said your credit's going to be about $200,000. And they were going to charge an hourly rate not to exceed 20% of the credit. And the client said that they're going to charge me this. And I looked at the contract. I said, okay, we think your credit is not going to be 200,000. We actually think your credit is going to be significantly higher. So go back to that other firm and ask them, if it's going to be significantly higher, will my fee go up? And the other firm said, yes, but we will not exceed that percentage. Well, the problem is that a company can't really budget when they don't know what that number is. And they won't know until the project is done. And for me, that's a big concern when I'm trying to figure out which avenue to go. So that's one thing that I always talk to clients about on the front end, because one of their first questions is, how much is it going to cost? The second thing that I always help clients understand is understand who you're hiring, not from a company perspective, but from a talent perspective. Are the employees, are the staff, are the project managers and the directors that are going to be working on your project, are they experienced in the industry? Do they have experience, or is your project going to be a learning project for them? And if that's the case, that's pretty much a red flag that you don't want to work with them. You don't want to be a learning or a training engagement for any company. One of the things I really like about what we do here at Source Advisors is we're not hiring people straight out of school. We're not hiring people that don't have experience or knowledge in the industry and or on the tax side. So that's an important factor. The other thing is, how long have companies been in existence? Again, when I started in the industry on R&D, there were a handful of companies. Now there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of specialty tax consulting firms popping up. What is their tenure? If they've been around for 2 or 3 or 4 years, are they going to be around in 3 or 4 or 5 years should your company and your claim get selected for an audit? And if they've only been around a couple of years, I'd be a little hesitant. And again, that's my opinion and how I approach engagements with clients, is making sure that you're established, making sure that you have the right experience, making sure that your fee schedules and structures are set up the right way. We work on a fixed fee on our projects. So there are no surprises when a client is engaging us. Whether their incentive is, we say it's X, and then their incentive goes up to 2X, that just means that we were able to uncover more opportunity for them. As long as the scope of the project didn't change, there should be no change in the fee schedule. They should be rewarded for the work that they do.
Nice. Excellent. So I know you said a lot of things about Source Advisors, but I want to give you a little bit more time to really focus in and brag. Pat yourself on the shoulder, puff your chest out, all you want here. Source Advisors. Yeah, and you've mentioned a couple of them about fee structures and longevity in the business. What are some other key differentiators about what makes you guys so much better than your competition? And don't hold back. This is the time to really say A, B, and C. This is why us. Don't be shy.
I thought a lot about this question, not because of this interview, but just in general, I think about this question a lot, is why us? And what is the biggest differentiator? Our company's great, and I could keep talking about that. What really is a huge differentiator are the people like me, the front end team, even the project teams with that experience and knowledge. But for me, what makes me better than anybody else is I'm in front of clients and I'm listening, and I'm not just trying to get done what I need to get done for myself. Beyond just what we offer. So let's say, for example, I meet with a company and they're a manufacturer and they're looking to move into a new facility. We work with clients on their research and development tax credit. We work with them on their cost segregation studies and even on energy efficient incentives, should it be available. But beyond that, and this is something that I really appreciate that I can do, and why individuals like you are such a value ultimately for my clients, is that I'm listening to who the potential client or the client is, understanding what they're doing. And in the back of my mind, and I don't quite get why I do this all the time, I'm thinking, what else can I provide them beyond just what I have directly? What other areas can I provide them to bring value? I had a CPA call me yesterday, and I've been telling CPAs and clients for years to do this. CPA called me yesterday, and he said, I have a client who's looking to do this, and they need some help in getting some connections to get this application done. Who do you know? I have 3 people. And so I sent them the contact information for one of them because they were in that region. It's us being more than just a service provider for our specific services. It's being a connection for all incentives. And that's something you talk about, what makes us different. It's not just the phenomenal work we do, because we do. And I know we do because I've been here and I've seen other providers and I've seen what other companies do. And I really we have a great team. But beyond that, it's listening to clients and helping them find other areas that they may not even know about or think about, or they're struggling with, but don't even know that they're struggling with it. And that's what we're doing. What makes me better and different, it's just that. It's being able to listen and deliver.
Awesome. So I have one more question for you. This question can delve into the personal nature of yourself. So
now you're making me nervous.
You should be. No, it's a very simple question. In anything we do in all of our jobs, and so this is not just exclusive to what you do and what I do. This is pretty much anybody. We have peaks and valleys, and a lot of times when we're doing what we do, when it's good, it's great. When it's bad, it's brutal. Mm-hmm. And when you're in that it's bad, it's brutal stage, and I know there are times when sometimes you look and you're like, why do I do this? What is it that you reach into in yourself? And it could be personal, it could be business, it could be the company. What is it that helps get you through those moments where you're questioning everything, and it's just you're in a slump, you're down in the dumps? What gets you out and just keeps you going and moving on and plugging away?
Seriously, Ross, this reminds me of Jerry Maguire at the end, where Cuba Gooding Jr. says, "You're not going to get me to cry. You got me to cry." Unbelievable.
The difference is there's no 3-year, $20 million contract on your fax machine.
What gets me through the slumps, and
you got to like what you do. So what is it?
You know what? First and foremost, when I do get in the slumps, and I do think about this industry, and I'm like, what? I can go, because I'm a certified financial planner, I can go back into financial planning and rebuild a book of business. What gets me through the slumps, this is probably going to sound cheesy, my family. It's truly, it's my family. And you have those days where they're just bad days and just nothing seems to go right for whatever reason. You start blaming yourself for everything, and you go out. My kids are older. My kids are 19, 17, and 15, but still, they see it. They see it in my face when I'm having a tough day. And my son, who is 6'4", 180 pounds, he's bigger than me. he'll just come up to me and he'll hug me. And every so often I'll be like, if you're having a bad day, that's okay. Because we all do. And you think about it, you think a 17-year-old saying that with that insight, it makes it okay for that day. And honestly, I've been doing this for so long, I started to realize recently that you have the bad days and they suck, but then you move on to the next day and it starts to pick up again. And I do a lot of journaling. So on top of everything else, I'll reflect back on that and I'll look at some of those days because I've journaled out some of those days on the good days and the bad days. And it helps me remember and put everything in perspective. But ultimately, it's consistently, it comes back to my family. My kids are amazing. My wife is insanely amazing. And sometimes she'll do something that just makes me laugh. And when she does that, it's like, okay, it's okay. So that's what does it. That's what gets me through some of those days.
Great. And I do see the tear. So
yeah, it's right here.
I love it.
I'm trying to hold it back. I believe I'm doing this live too.
Yeah. So with that said, let's see if any of our viewers have any questions that they want to post.
I didn't see any pop up, but there may be some in the future. The good thing is that these are recorded. So as soon as we're done with this, everyone on LinkedIn knows that it'll pop up in the feeds, and it'll go on YouTube and Twitter. It'll be posted on there as well. So if people do have questions afterwards, we can definitely, I can definitely respond to those.
Excellent. That's great to know. And I see I think your contact information is up here somewhere. I thought I saw it. It's scrolling. There it is. So do you have your next show planned? Do you have something? Do you have your next?
You know what? I do. Thank you. I have, since you brought it up, this is a copy, so I'm not going to show this, but there's one that I have with Dr. Pat. I'm doing an interview with her it's Monday, the 29th. I think that's the Monday. I'll post this on LinkedIn. But we have one on Monday just talking about health and living right. She's an expert in this area and I've spoken with her quite a few times, and she's written a book called Are You Sick, Fat, and Tired? So we're going to talk about that. I think that'll be a lot of fun. And that's something that I like to do. We do these interviews, and Ross, you know this from when I interviewed, it's about the interviewee. It's not about me soliciting or pumping up what I do. Today was, but normally it's all about them. And Dr. Pat's coming on. I'm really excited to have her on and learn about health. So
excellent. Well, we look forward to seeing more of these. And again, thank you for having the faith and allowing me to be the one who comes on and interviews you. Greatly appreciated. You do great work. People should definitely be reaching out to you and talking and learning more. You have the email scrolling below, so please feel free to reach out. Until the next time, you know what? If you want to learn more, can I say it?
Yes.
If you want to learn more, you're going to have a virtual iced tea and a one-on-one with Michael.
Thank you, Ross.
You're welcome.
Enjoy the rest of your day, Ross. Everyone out there, have a great weekend and watch for the next broadcast.
Good night. Have a great day, everybody.